October of this year. So we've had about 8 or 9 programs or so from since then to now. And it has been an absolute pleasure to be here with you every Wednesday night to listen to your feedback post program and to share with you. And on making the case, we pride ourselves with bringing you the facts, with keeping you up to date on current affairs, on government's programs, and all that is taking place in our country. We ensure that we give you the full analysis of what is taking place in our parliament, what is going on with the opposition, and most importantly, debunking a lot of the fake news or a lot of the information, the incorrect information that the opposition leader and the members of the opposition tend to feed the population. And it's extremely important that we are always ready to counter that. Because if you listen to them, you will think Guyana is a very, very strange place. And we know, you and I know, that Guyana is going places, and that this country will be the envy of the world. And you and I want to see that Guyana. We want to be able to see Guyana develop. We want to be able to see Guyanese prosper in this republic. We want to ensure that Guyana remains a democracy. And the fight that we had in 2020, an unimaginable fight. I mean, we know that the DNA of the PNC is to rig elections, but we never thought that we would see that happen on the scale and the magnitude with which it took place in 2020, and the brazenness of it all. And so, we were able to come out of that period, that dark period, 5 months in a pandemic. We were able to come out of that period and to have democracy restored. If you're joining me this evening, please click that share button and ensure that we spread this program and as far and as wide as possible, so that our viewers in Guyana, in the Caribbean, in North America and Europe, everywhere, because Guyanese are all over this globe, and so we want to be able to reach them, and we want them to be able to get the facts. We want them to know all that is taking place in our country. I trust that you had an enjoyable weekend. I trust that your Christmas was bright, was merry, that the kids enjoyed tremendously. I know mine did. I very much enjoyed the extra holidays with my family and taking some very cherished time off and spending time with my family. And that's usually how we have a Guyanese Christmas, making pepper pot. And with my Portuguese heritage, garlic pork is a must. And I may not cook 364 days of the year, but one day, at least one day a year, I ensure that I make my own pepper pot and garlic pork, Guyanese style, traditional Portuguese recipe for my garlic pork. So I do that. I don't let anybody touch that. So I had an excellent weekend with family, and I trust that you did as well. It was an excellent month for the country, for business, for tourism. We see Guyanese from all walks of life returning home to spend Christmas, because frankly, there is no Christmas anywhere in the world like a Guyanese Christmas. And when you are accustomed to that, no matter where you go, you miss Christmas at home. So we just came out of the Christmas holiday,
And we have just about 3 working days this week, and then we go into a long weekend again to celebrate the new year. And I trust and hope that 2023 will be even brighter for you and your families, that prosperity will come to your lives, that you all will continue to be safe, and that we can see and be a part of the development that is continuing to take place in our country. Very early next year, well, the date has shifted for local government elections. Well, we don't have a new date as yet. We are still awaiting some advice from GCOM. But as soon as we have that date, we will ensure that everybody is apprised of that information. And we're going to hit the ground running, because we believe in democracy, we believe in local democracy, and the People's Progressive Party Civic will contest the local government elections whenever they are held in 2023. So, since this is the final program for 2022, I wish to spend this time recapping some of the work that we have done in the year 2022, as well as from 2020, when we assumed office on August 2nd. And as I was alluding to before, we came into government after 5 months of a delay in the announcement of the legitimate results of the elections. And they had several announcements from the CEO, Lowenfield, and several reports. And we had the court cases. And, Guyana was a very strange time. It was a very strange place during that 5-month period. And everybody who was paying attention and glued to their television and tuning in to every decision of the court can attest to feeling hopeless sometimes, feeling depressed, having a sense of feeling flabbergasted when we see some of the arguments that were presented to the court by the now opposition and then the party that was trying to rig the elections. But we managed to come out of that period, and this was following the 2018 vote of no confidence, and we know what we all endured during 2019 trying to get a date for elections. And that's during 2019 is when this program was first started, and I hope to be able to continue this program for as long as possible so that I can share with you, and I can come into your homes and we can discuss all of the issues in our country. So in 2020, we assumed office. You would recall the state of the economy at that time. Things were very dark. The thousands of people had lost their jobs. The economy had slowed tremendously. There was a feeling of hopelessness. The country was drifting. We were not sure which direction we were going in. And for 5 years, from 2015 to 2020, we were drifting because the APNU-AFC coalition had no sense of direction. Everybody was doing their own thing. All of the ministers were going in their own directions, taking care of themselves, taking care of their families, implementing hardship taxes on the population, and nobody could see any real progress taking place in the country. We were losing jobs, we were losing businesses, the economy was brought to almost a halt. And then when we went to the Ministry of Housing and Water, and I can speak extensively about what we found the state of affairs we found at the Ministry of Housing and Water, you would recall that there was not even a ministry. The housing sector was reduced to a department within the Ministry of Communities, and there was no investment in the housing sector. There was no importance given to housing. You know, I'm always surprised, I'm always amazed at how one could miss the importance of the housing sector. From 1992, the moment democracy was restored in Guyana and the People's Progressive Party Civic took office under the leadership of President Dr. Chedi Jagan, even with a bankrupt economy, even with no money, Dr. Jagan started the housing program. And that is because, one, he had a vision. Two, he realized that housing, the right to shelter, is just as important as food and clothing. Shelter is equally as important, and having affordable housing, providing affordable housing to the people of our country. Thirdly, it builds up your net worth. And that is the amazing thing about the housing program, is that whenever someone acquires a portion of land, you are paying, the cost you are paying is heavily subsidized by the government of Guyana. And so from the moment you acquire your house lot or a portion of land in this country and you receive your title, it is already valued and worth more than you paid because it is subsidized by the government. And so that's just a portion of land. Then as the government continues to develop communities, as we continue to build highways, to build roadways, bridges, sidewalks, drains, as we put in further infrastructure for utilities, as we develop the community in terms of recreational facilities, as businesses move into the communities, housing prices, the price for land skyrockets. And so right away you are building up the net worth of people, of families, in addition to improving their lives. You know, I never imagined the impact that the housing program has had on the lives. Being an outsider, I didn't appreciate the effect, the positive effects that the housing program of the People's, I have to say the People's Progressive Party Civic, because from 1992, when the program was started, to 2015, it was all done by the People's Progressive Party Civic. And then in 2015 to 2020, the 7,000 house lots that were allocated within established housing schemes. The APNU coalition did not build a single new housing scheme in this country, did not develop a single new house lot in Guyana. And so the entire housing program is to the credit of the PPPC governments, successive PPPC governments. And it started with realizing the importance that housing plays in the economy and in the lives of ordinary people, especially our low-income earners. Guyanese have a constitutional right to affordable housing, and successive PPPC administrations have ensured that we deliver on that article in the Constitution. So when we took office again in August of 2020, we had to immediately revamp, resuscitate, and rejuvenate the housing program. We had to examine what was happening at the Guyana Water Inc. And you know that that company was bankrupt at the time, owed GPL about $7 billion for electricity charges. It had hundreds of millions of dollars owed to suppliers. The company was in a mess, could barely afford to pay its employees. There was a doubling of the staff that was left there in 2015 when the PPP demitted office. The staff, the total amount of staff doubled in 5 years. You had Van West Charles, who was there as the managing director, seemed to be hiring friends and families, and they went on a hiring spree. In the meanwhile, they were sending home sugar workers. They were closing down call centers and putting people out of work, not creating new jobs. And so everything was slow. There was no sense of direction, no vision as to where the country was going. And this was replicated not only in the housing sector, but throughout the sectors. And so immediately everybody had to get to work. And I can tell you, the first 6 months were very, very tough, because we were Sunday to Sunday, we were on it and ensuring that we passed the first emergency budget so we could bring relief immediately to people. Because by the time we got to elections in March of 2020, people were already fed up. People were desperate for a change in government. And then the 5 months after the actual date, the actual day of election, made people even more desperate, even more frustrated. We had the pandemic had begun, and the Ministry of Health under the leadership of Walter Lawrence was a total mess. They had no testing capabilities and all of these things. I mean, it seems like when you look around now in 2022, it seems like almost a lifetime ago, but it was just 2.5 years ago. And sometimes we have to sit down and really think back about how we were feeling during that time and exactly what was taking place in our country during that time. And we have to do that to really appreciate the progress that we have made in just over 2 years. And the progress has been tremendous. And I can tell you that I could not be more proud of our president. I could not be more proud of the entire cabinet, of our vice president, of our prime minister. Everyone has really done their best, put their best foot forward. Everyone you can see every day making a genuine, honest effort to ensure that in each and every sector that we are fulfilling our commitments and thereby fulfilling all of our manifesto promises that we made to the people of our country. And the manifesto is an extremely important document, and it is a living document. We have to constantly refer to it. It is our guiding principle throughout the 5 years that we are in office. And I can tell you that maybe about 90% of it has been fulfilled already. Already fulfilled. But as we continue to govern in the style and in the manner with which we govern under the leadership of President Ali, which is going into communities, consulting with people from all walks of life, meeting with them, listening to them, hearing their views, getting their feedback. That is how we believe in governing. And so when you do that, you, one, appreciate the challenges that people are faced with in their daily lives, And two, you can address it. And you make further commitments. You go beyond your manifesto commitments and you govern in a real way, in a tangible way, in a way that has direct impact on people's lives, and people can feel the impact of the work that we are doing. It's not easy. It's not easy going into communities, in Guyanese form and fashion. Sometimes you get a good cuss out. And that's all right. That's all right, because that's the only way you'll know what people are going through. It's the only way people will be able to vent their frustration. It's the only way you'll be able to understand how you have to serve people and how better we can serve people. The Vice President always says, I've always heard him say that in office, in government, you always have to solve problems. Every day is about solving problems. And I can personally attest to that. While our mandate at the Ministry of Housing is to ensure that we give out house lots, is to regularize communities, is to ensure we deliver safe water to people. Every day, people can come with a new situation, a difficult circumstance that they are facing in their lives regarding regarding housing, or even outside of housing or water. Any problem that people have, and they come and they meet a minister or a public official, they raise matters with you. And it is our duty and our responsibility to be able to solve problems and to find innovative ways in which we can bring relief to people. Otherwise, what good are we doing? What use are we to people if you go into communities and you consult with people and they raise issues with you and you cannot solve their problems? Granted, and I'll be the first to admit that we can't solve everything. We don't have the answers to everything. Some things we can solve immediately. Some things will take time to resolve. But we must try. And people must feel that we are trying. And I can say that all of us in the entire government have been trying and have been doing a tremendous job at reaching out to people. And I think anybody who has an objective lens, who is looking at the work of the government and the conduct of the government, can attest to how true that is. The personal touch with our people is something that we will never want to lose. And this style of governing will ensure that we always keep that connection with the people. Because at the end of the day, the people are who we are working for. It is the people that we are governing for. And the people of this country gave us a mandate. And they elected us on certain commitments in our manifesto document. And so that is our guiding principle. And we will go even beyond that to ensure that we can impact people's lives in a meaningful and in a fruitful way. So at the ministry, we have seen in the 2+ years, over 20,000 house lots allocated, in keeping with our annual target of 10,000 annually, towards our larger target of 50,000 house lots in 5 years. I am happy to report that 8,000 single women have been allocated house lots, and that is 8,000 of the 20,000, representing about 44% of all of our allocations going to single women, meaning women in their own right, or women who are the sole applicants. And that is a very important achievement for the ministry and for our government. I know that when I speak to a lot of our diplomats in the diplomatic community, representatives from the United Nations, from the IDB, they're always very impressed with the work that Guyana is doing in the housing sector and the work that we are doing to ensure that we achieve gender parity. And for those feminists and all of those people who are interested in our track record in ensuring gender parity, if you have a look at the Gender Gap Report of 2022, you will see that Guyana moved up 18 points in our ranking. We went from 53rd in 2021 to 35th in 2022, moving up 18 points on the Gender Gap Report. And if you compare that to other countries, apart from achieving gender parity, all of these other indices that they use to determine how well a country is doing in terms of achieving gender parity, you will see Guyana doing remarkably well. And imagine in 1 year only, we were able to move up 18 points. And that is the direct result of the policies and the programs that are being undertaken by our government. And the housing program contributes significantly to that, to ensuring there is gender parity, and ensuring that women have access to land, access to housing, access to financing. Women have equal rights in Guyana in terms of controlling their anatomy. We have a right to abortion. And when you look through the report on the profiles of countries around the world, you will see Guyana doing better in certain areas like equal access to and freedom to control your own anatomy, reproductive rights. Guyana doing better than other countries like Jamaica and even the United Kingdom. And you know, even in the United States, because recently the United States the Supreme Court passed a very questionable ruling in terms of abortion rights. So you see in the report, an objective report, Guyana doing extremely well in terms of ensuring that we do our part in ensuring that women receive equal access to services and that we close that gender gap. We've seen over 1,000 homes built in 2.5 years. We have seen several programs to assist people, to assist low-income earners to acquire their own homes. The steel and cement program being one of them to our low-income earners. Anyone qualifying for a mortgage of up to $6 million entitled to receive the steel and cement for their foundation. And over 6 million, I believe up to 15 million, receiving 2 slings of cement to help towards the construction of their homes. You have seen a collaboration with the ministry and with all of the commercial banks to guarantee reduced interest rates. Some of the lowest interest rates in the world. Guyana is among the lowest interest rates in the world in terms of mortgages. If you look at the news globally of what is taking place, in an effort to curb inflation, countries around the globe have been increasing interest rates. Meanwhile, in Guyana, we have been reducing interest rates to make access to home ownership more affordable. Even during the pandemic, the interventions that our government undertook were unprecedented. The measures that we took were unprecedented. Throughout the globe, you saw people lose jobs, you saw people taking cuts to their paycheck as a result of the pandemic, as a result of high shipping costs, increases in the cost of living. But you saw in Guyana the government continuing to make investments in people. We did not lose jobs. In 2.5 years, we created jobs. We were able to rehire people in the sugar industry. We were able to open new call centers, especially the one in Linden that the APNU closed. And they claim they love Linden so much, and they closed the call center that we had there in 2015, sent home 80 plus persons who were working there. Those people have been rehired, and that call center is expanding and looking to hire more people. Up to 250 people have been hired by that call center. And so these are the interventions that our government has been making. We removed all of the hardship taxes. 200 plus taxes were removed once we came into government. We removed the taxes from water and electricity. We invested in our people. We invested in infrastructure. You've seen massive highways, massive infrastructure projects undertaken, and in some cases even completed. The first phase of the highway, of the new 4-lane concrete highway, the first concrete highway built in this country, built within the last 2.5 years. Built within the last 2.5 years, from Mandela to Eccles, completed in record time. 4-lane concrete highway in the first phase. And we have in the second phase now from Eccles to Diamond, and then we are now in the design phase, the third phase from Diamond to Craig. And then we will of course move beyond there until we get all the way to Timeri. So we will continue to make these investments, and it's not just about building roads. You know, you hear people make this asinine argument about, oh, we can't eat roads. But they miss the bigger picture. They miss the bigger impact of what building new roadways do. When we built that road, and as we continue to build new roads, we are opening thousands of acres of land for housing. We are opening thousands of acres of land for commercial investments, for industrial investments, which will create jobs, which will stimulate the economy. Thousands and thousands of people have to work on these roads. They have to build houses. They have to do infrastructure work in housing schemes. Thousands of jobs will be created. This is just the housing program alone. And then you have massive infrastructure projects being undertaken through the Ministry of Public Works, through the Ministry of Local Government. We have farm to market roads being constructed in our regions where we have farming, so that people can take their produce from the farm to the markets, thereby helping people to earn a living, putting food on their tables. So that is the importance of the infrastructure program, and it's not going anywhere. Once it's built, it is there. And these are the investments that are associated with a modern economy, ensuring that we have massive roadways, that we have highways, that we build the bridge, the new Demerara Bridge, so that people can get to work faster, reduce time in traffic. People have more productive time with their families, spending less time getting from home to work and from work to home. All of this adds to improving people's lives, add towards improving people's standard of living, and reducing the stress that people have to go through every single day. when they traverse our roadways. We were able to roll out recently a massive road upgrade program. 1,200 roads were tendered through a collaboration with the Ministry of Housing, the Ministry of Public Works, and the Ministry of Local Government and Regional Development. I know that a lot of people, especially on the East Bank corridor, in some of our housing schemes on the East Bank, Providence, Covent Garden, Peters Hall, Farm, I know a lot of people in those communities complain a lot about the state of the roads in those housing schemes, but I can assure you that we have gone out for tender for 1,200 roads, 600 of which have been awarded already, and work will commence very shortly, and the others are in the process of evaluation and subsequent award. So people will see a great relief. By mid next year, there will be a tremendous relief among people in our housing schemes and across the regions, because this was a project that we undertook across several regions. So region 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 will see upgrades throughout their regions within communities, and this will bring great relief. So you can look forward very much to that. You know, we live right here with you. You know, sometimes people complain to us and as though we are not aware of what is happening, and I can empathize with them, and I do listen to their frustrations, but we live in the same communities as you do, and we understand the challenges within communities, and I can assure you that we are doing everything that we can to address the state of roads in existing schemes, in building new road networks to ensure that we open new land for housing. We are working assiduously to ensure that we improve the water that you are receiving in your homes. And I know this has been a sore point. Throughout the years, we were able to improve access to water. And many people, almost 100%, I believe we are at 99% access to water on the coastline. And we have to get up to 100% on the coastline, and up to 100% access to water in the hinterland. And that is in our strategic plan for GWI for the 5 years that we are in office, from 2020 to 2025. That is in our strategic plan. But more importantly, on the coastline, I know the situation faced by many communities on the coast is access to treated water. And so people complain a lot about the iron content in the water, which contributes to the reddish color in the water, which is not desirable and can cause frustration. And I understand that. And we are working towards ensuring that we achieve 90% treated water by 2025. We are currently at 52% coverage for treated water. And what we have done in our strategic plan was to do an analysis in all of the coastal regions to what is needed, where is the gap, where do we need to construct water treatment plants, where are the gaps that we need to address. And we have designed and implemented and have started to implement our strategic plan. We have to construct 13 new water treatment plants to be able to fill the gaps across the regions, all of the coastal regions, to move treated water coverage from 52% to 90%. We have seen over the last few months, we were able to sign contracts for the construction of 7 new water treatment plants. So this will significantly improve access to treated water once those 7 new water treatment plants have been constructed. We will see 100,000 beneficiaries receive access to treated water. We have also signed contracts to upgrade about a dozen of our existing water treatment plants so that they can produce better quality water and so that we can extend the services in the areas that are already receiving water from our water treatment plants. We want to reduce losses in the system, so we have to constantly work in communities within the regions, have our teams on the ground addressing leakages and so on. This helps to improve the level of service as well as to improve the quality of the water that you receive. So we have a plan that I have just explained to you. It will take 13 new plants to be constructed to be able to deliver treated water to 90% of our population on the coast. We have already executed contracts for 7, and we have already secured funding from the Caribbean Development Bank for the additional 6 water treatment plants that we need. And so you will see contracts for those 6 water treatment plants being signed in 2023. And then we will ensure that we get construction on the way so that we can improve the quality of water that you receive. And thereby improving your quality of life and reducing your frustration every day, when you receive discolored water. Today, at the ministry, we signed a very historic and transformational contract for the single window application and approval system. This single window system is for applications, is to receive applications for planning and building permits to improve efficiency in the system and to ensure there is ease of doing business. So for those of you who are watching, and I know especially our viewers in North America, those who are abroad and who are thinking about remigrating, moving back to Guyana, or moving some of their investment to Guyana and coming to Guyana to invest and to be a part of our economic growth and development, I know they will be excited about this. So today we signed the contract for the IT platform. So anyone who is desirous of opening a business and needs a planning permit, or is constructing a new building and needs a construction or a building permit, will be able to access this IT platform once it is completed. Anyone who has already been through this process, and all of those who are watching, business people who would have been through this process, would know that right now it is a nightmare to be able to go from one agency to the next to receive your approval. And the process starts at your local NDCs or at the mayor and city council if your investment is in the city of Georgetown. You start with your application at the mayor and city council or the NDC. It then goes to the Central Housing and Planning Authority. Then it has to go to the fire department. Depending on the nature of the investment, it may have to go to the EPA, it may have to go to Sea Defense, it may have to go to Public Works, and a whole host of agencies that you have to go through to get an approval before you can start the construction of your building or before you can start to invest in your business. And what this platform aims to do is to provide a single window, meaning you can physically come to the Central Housing and Planning Authority, or you submit your application online, and that is your one and only stop. And from there, once you submit that application, it will go through the whole gamut of the process, moving from one agency to the next. And this will not be the responsibility of the applicant. The applicant is dropping in a single application with all of the requirements that all of the agencies are requesting. And that application will move throughout the system. And there are time bounds that are associated with every single agency, so that the application does not get stuck anywhere. So if it comes to the Central Housing and Planning Authority and it moves to the fire department, for example, and if the fire department does not respond within a particular time, then the application is deemed to be granted, or the no objection is deemed to be given from that particular agency. So there is no uncertainty in the process. All of the uncertainty will be removed. There will be predictability in the process, because an applicant will be able to know the amount of time that each agency has to respond. The applicant, once they've submitted their application, will be able to track their own application so that they can see where exactly their application is at a particular time, which agency they're waiting on for a response. And it also removes all subjectivity from the process. So nobody has to fear, no investor has to fear, well, what if I don't support the government? Or what if this public official and I don't get along? You know, would they deny my application because of some bias? There is no fear of that, because this is an automated system, and the people who have to give the approval have a time bound, a time limit in which to give that approval, or it is deemed to have been granted. And so this will tremendously improve the ease of doing business. It removes bureaucracy from the system, removes all of the red tape, and I know that this will be a welcome addition to the business climate and the ease of doing business. We have already laid the legislation in the Parliament, and at the next sitting, that bill, the single window application bill, will be debated and subsequently passed. We will see Silica City, the commencement of Silica City, construction in Silica City in 2023, and I know a lot of people are also excited about that. We have a lot of remigrants who are excited about returning home and being able to own a plot of land in Silica City. This year we also passed the condominium legislation, the Condominium Act, thereby allowing investments in condominiums. And the most important part of the Condominium Act is that the Minister of Housing, who grants the approval for a condominium, the process of granting an approval is completely transparent and accountable. So the minister, if he refuses, has to state reasons, and the minister also has a time limit within which to acknowledge an application and then subsequently respond whether to approve or deny that application. And if there is no response within a particular time, I believe it's 3 months, then the application again is deemed to be granted. This level of transparency and accountability is unprecedented in our country and in many parts of the world. So we are not looking to try to preserve any power. We want to ensure that our legislation and that all of the systems that we are implementing guarantees full transparency and accountability within the system and in the process, so that nobody feels aggrieved. This year we had the return of the Building Expo, and I know a lot of people A lot of families enjoyed the Building Expo, but more importantly, we had a lot of businesses who welcomed the return of the Expo. And contrary to the criticism that we had from the opposition, which said, oh, the PPP is splurging money on an expo. You know, the expo paid for itself. People paid to be there. So the expo paid for itself. And I was very, very pleased with the feedback I got from all of the participants in the expo. Almost 400 businesses, foreign as well as local, participated in the expo, and the feedback was tremendous. People complimented the ministry, people complimented the government on increasing their businesses. People said to me, and this is not large scale business, but medium scale and even small scale businesses were sold out. And the medium scale businesses, business owners said to me, we are receiving orders like we have never received before. And the expo gave people a wonderful platform with which to exhibit their business. All of this helps to improve our business climate, helps to circulate money in the economy. It gives people more options when they go through the Building Expo and they see what is available for construction. It helps people to adopt new ways of construction, innovative ways, and it was a tremendous exhibition for our country as well. And imagine all of this time I've been speaking, we've only been talking about achievements in the housing sector. And I can go on and on about achievements in the housing sector, but there have been tremendous achievements across our government in all of the other sectors. In education, you see new schools being built, you see scholarships being granted. Over 13,000 scholarships have been granted to those desirous of studying. I spoke to Minister Parag. She said 69% of all of the scholarships that have been granted so far went to women, thereby improving once again and closing the gender gap. We see reforms in the health sector, construction of new hospitals, including a children and maternal specialty hospital. We have seen recently the announcement of free CT scans for patients, as well as a one-stop diabetes treatment care that has come on stream by the end of this year. We see in the health sector again, help to dialysis patients to the tune of $600,000 annually to dialysis patients. And I can go on and on about the infrastructure projects. I can go on about the improvements in the tourism sector and in our tourism product. And I know that this is something very important to our president because he also served in the capacity of Minister of Tourism prior to 2015. We will see the investments, and we have been seeing the investments in the gas to energy project, and that project has been progressing very nicely. We have seen the contract signed for the 300 megawatt power plant, which will be built at Wales. And you will see projects to achieve an energy mix, wind, solar, hydro. And the result of all of this investment in the energy sector is in keeping with our manifesto commitment, once again, to reducing electricity costs by 50% by 2025. And you know that the cost of electricity, the high cost of electricity, has been a hindrance to our manufacturing sector, has been a huge hurdle to our manufacturing sector. So by 2025, when we have achieved a reduction of 50%, you can only imagine the increase that will take place in our manufacturing sector, which will see an explosion in new investments and in new jobs for our people. And so there is a lot that we have to look forward to. And like I said, all of these achievements, and I have barely scratched the surface of the long list of achievements and accomplishments that we have had in office in just over 2 years. And we were able to accomplish all of that in a pandemic, in a global pandemic, amidst rising cost of living, amidst a supply chain crisis, amidst a war in Ukraine, which took out 30% of the wheat production in our world. And yet, COVID was never used as an excuse for underperformance of our government or non-performance. We have every day, during the pandemic and now post-pandemic, almost post-pandemic, we can say, we have gotten up every day and we have gone out there, put ourselves at risk and gone out there to serve the people. We have never used COVID or anything else as an excuse not to work and not to serve the people of our country. And I am down to program time. I exceeded my 5 minutes when I was given the warning 5 minutes ago. But I want to say to you that it has been an absolute pleasure to be able to serve you over the last 2+ years. I look forward to our continued relationship in government. I look forward to continue to serving you as we go forward together as one Guyana, as we continue to build one Guyana. And I look forward to being on this program every Wednesday come 2023. I wish you all the very best in the new year. I wish you good health. I wish you prosperity and joy. Please stay safe, enjoy your weekend, enjoy the break of the new year, and I will see you next week. God bless you.